super happy colleague, esteemed colleague, badass. And this is a person who went to school, learned one way of doing things, used that one way of doing things, and now, because the world is continuing to adapt, having the power of film in your pocket now has changed the game for everybody. And she's gone out there and she's been in the trenches with it. So, from her to you.
I wanna further that because like she's really underplaying how much I learned a different way of doing things. I'm old enough to have gone to school where I had film strip and saw the individual frames and cut them and put a piece of tape on them and put it together. That was called splicing. And then when I came out of film school, nobody made films like that anymore. And I was right at that age, and so I work with a millennial and we write together. And so I'll tell him, I'm like, Gabe, I can't find this thing. And he's like, did you not take any computer classes? I'm like, Gabe, I graduated in 2000. The only thing we cared about was things going to turn over in 1999, you know? And so I really did have to learn, and it's hard when you have to learn with like an older way of thinking. And so I've really done a lot of soul searching and trying to figure out how to make this new way of doing things work. It's been a long journey. And I want to say a little bit about me. I grew up in East LA, San Gabriel Valley area, and I went to school in San Francisco. And what I want to say this little bit to set up who I am as a filmmaker is I made a short film right out of college. It was erotica, experimental. It was on Super 8. I sent it to the, I want to say who the festival is. I sent it to a very prestigious Latino film festival in the city of LA. And they had a category for erotica, experimental. And I was like, that's for me. And I didn't get in. And I'm like, I'm from LA. It's an erotica experimental film, and I didn't get in. And I was really sad and disappointed. And then I got into a film festival in Rotterdam, which is one of the top 10 international film festivals. So I was like, fuck you, motherfuckers, for not recognizing that we're not all the same people. We're not all following and telling the same stories, and we don't all fit into the same box. But the Dutch are good at recognizing stuff like that. So, let's see. I recently got into, because I was really tired of being dependent on other people. And so I got into how to make films on my camera to make it look like film. And I'm going to show you some things along the way I'm going to show you some mistakes I've made. I feel like I'm a better filmmaker now. I'm going to show you, this is kind of, I like Stephanie, she calls it the brain. And this was, I'm teaching my son how to do stuff like this now. And this is something that I just recently started doing that I'm so excited about. If you're on a Mac and you go into Tools and you go under Annotate, this is how I do my shot list now. I mean, I make a shot list next to it, but I make my shot maps, right? And so I make little like this is this one character and that's another character. And if it's a wide angle, then it's a wide shot. If it's a narrower one, like a close-up, then it's smaller. And then I'll list the numbers, and then sometimes I'll put the directions here. I'll put the scene, and this is all under Annotate. I made the little place look like this. This has changed so much for me because you gotta be, if you're gonna make no-budget movies, you gotta be really organized for weeks or a month beforehand. So make your call sheets before then, because you don't want to be doing them the day and the week. I'm gonna just jump right in. I want to give you guys real good skills that I've really learned. And then I use these little things like what scene number it is, so I can match over to the script back here, what scene number this is. And then this is like, I had to grab some stuff to put it in a smaller notebook because I have a thicker one. I'll put the script in there, I'll break up down where the script is, and then I will, I'll put in the shot list. Everything goes in like that. But this way of doing things, I was a producer, AD on a project recently where I wasn't the director, but I made 2 of these because I helped the director because he was a writer and he never directed before. So I helped him make his shot list and I helped him do this. And then I made 2 folders. And I had my folder and I had a folder that was just on set. And the director was like, oh no, I never want to see that again because it was so miserable for him, right? But then when we were there, I'm going to take all this story back, that part. He did a great job. So, but we did have 2 folders. We did have 2 folders, and I saw the sound guy, the camera operator, the art. I saw a number of people. They would go to look into my folder, into the separate folder that was for people. The sound guy, because he was looking at where the camera was. The DP, he just didn't even, he was like, oh, that's a close-up, that's a wide shot. Like, he was just looking at that to know, like, well, oh, this is what she's going for right there. This is, and so, honestly, man, I'm going to pass this around. This is for my 13-year-old son. And then when we got to shooting it, because I'm trying to help him get into a film magnet high school, we got to shooting it, and I was like, well, go look in the folder. Because I was like, okay, well, let's shoot this thing now. And then he'd look all like confused. I'm like, well, go look in the folder and see what the first step is. And so, you know, we would put in like little things for the blocking. This is all under annotate in the tools. And, you know, one of the things in film over the years is you'll find that there's a lot of obstacles and a lot of things that come along the way that can really like bring you down. And you gotta learn from those things. And unfortunately, I had to sue someone, and I had to go through my lawsuit. We're going to unfortunately show some of the work I did for her. But in my lawsuit, I did all this stuff with annotate. I was like, oh, I'm going to use this for my shot list. So that's how I look at life. I'm not one of those people that's like positive by all means, but I'm like, let me figure out how to make this work for me. So I'll pass that around so you can kind of just look at it, because, I mean, it sounds crazy to be excited about something like this. I'm like, it's changed my life. It made things so much clearer on set. While that's going around, I'm going to show you just some like really basic things I bought along the way. Because when they put out that camera that could shoot 2K, I was like, what? And you can do all this other stuff. I did drop it like the first week. Oh, no. I was like, I looked into how much, and it's a lot to, because you have to laser that off. It's not. So this is a janky, generic one that my son shot his little thing on it. I've used it doing BTS for a music video that the band Las Cafeteras did. And you could screw in mics. I have a separate mic. And then I have just a stand if I want to put that up. I'm going to not put these things up. If you want to help me put that up, if you know how. And then I, after this, I kind of was like, okay, and I still use it for a little bit, but it's still a little shaky. So I did get myself this like real fancy gimbal, which does take a lot of like figuring out. And I was like, I'm not usually the one behind the camera, but I was tired of relying on other people. I was tired of not being able to pay them. So I started looking at like, okay, how can I make that Super 8? How can I make that iPhone work for me like my Super 8 cameras used to? Because I don't want to shoot things that look like I shot them on an iPhone. I want to shoot things that look like I shot it on a film camera. Let me see. Okay, so I bought a few lenses. These little lenses. This lens is called an anamorphic lens. So one of the feature films that came out a few years back was called Tangerine out of Sundance. And they shot it on an iPhone 5, I think. You're now on like 14. So it's like, that's the difference. You see what I'm saying? And so they shot it on this anamorphic lens. Not this one in particular, I don't know actually. But they shot it on an anamorphic lens. This is a 50 millimeter lens. I do want to buy some more, but I'm okay right now. This anamorphic lens was like $160 something. Now in your mind, you might go, oh, it's a lot. It is a lot. But if you had the Canon, Sony, whatever, and with my friend, he was like, oh my God, I love the look you got. So I went to go look for it for my camera, and it's like $700 and something. So what I suggest is if you get yourself your own little 5 to 10 people collective, I say 5, because 10's too much, go in on some things together. If you drop a $160 lens, you dropped a $160 lens, but you didn't break a $700 lens. If you do go on a collective like that, start with an agreement, a writing agreement. Even for the lenses or whatever you buy, if one person buys one thing and another buys another, and you guys go in on a thing, put your agreement together. You don't have to get a lawyer involved, but just write your agreement up right away. This is what we're saying, and if someone steps out, then we can buy the equipment from them or whatever. So figure out what you guys feel is fair. And unfortunately, like if you're I'm gonna say this, like if you're a woman or you're a person of color, because we come from a place of trauma, we react from a place of trauma, and so we don't understand how to. I'm generalizing. First of all, I want to claim that, okay? So obviously not everyone, but I think that we have to learn or unlearn how to behave from a place of trauma in order to move forward. And so write your writing agreement and figure it out. Don't have an ego. I mean, we all have ego. You deserve to have an ego, but don't let your ego make you think the incorrect thoughts. Let's see. So I brought this thing along because I first bought. I'm gonna just go all over the place. I have ADHD, but you're gonna learn a lot from me. Just rambling. I first bought this cheaper anamorphic lens. And then I put it on because I wanted to save money, right? So I bought the cheaper one. But you're buying cheap. Buy the better level of cheap. Figure it out. Get a grant. I don't know what. Go do your GoFundMe with your family to get at least better equipment at the cheaper level. So anyway, I bought this one and I put it on and it looked all wongo. And I was like, damn it. So nobody wants to buy it off me. I was like, you know what? I bought the nicer one. Same thing with this gimbal. I did the same thing. There's another gimbal that's sitting in my garage. I don't use it because it couldn't carry the weight. So this is a DJI 4. They have a 5 right now. I'm looking into it. What happens when you add the camera, you add the case, you add your lenses, and you add stuff to the lens so it changes the balance of the weight of the phone. So you have to get, I have some somewhere. As I pull things out, I'll be showing you. You have to get these counterbalance weights. And so I don't know why I brought that up, but the weight, something I had couldn't hold the weight, so I had to get something more expensive. Let's see, what else am I talking about? I'm telling you guys a lot of stuff right now. It's really important stuff too. So when I got these lenses, here's my print up. If someone can print, has a copy machine, I have a few YouTube pages that I liked that I learned a lot from. One is called Mobile Motion. I really recommend that guy. He made it really simple. He made it really easy to understand, and it really changed the way I saw things. So I got this. I had to get a lens adapter to go on top of those. This 50 millimeter, the anamorphic lens, and you just pop these things right on. I'm going to pop some on right now and show you the difference. And it feels scary at first. You're like, I'm going to fuck this thing up. And then you just kind of and now, let's see this. Well, this isn't the right circle. The great thing is it comes with a bunch of different rings for the right size. One will work. And now I can add things like ND filter. So an ND filter, that neutral density, helps you cut all that sunlight outside. One of these is going to work. So the reason why you want to cut that neutral density is, let me explain this. Your iPhone looks like an iPhone and not a film camera because it shoots at a different rate. It shoots 30 frames per second. It takes in a lot of light. So if you freeze on any frame, it's completely sharp and in focus, right? But a film camera shoots at 24 frames per second. It takes in less light. And if you freeze on something, it looks a little bit blurry. So what it does is it's giving motion to the person. And so what you can do is you get this app on your phone. I'm going to show you stuff that I made using this app. That mobile motion, that YouTube link for that mobile motion guy, he's the best one to show me this app. The app is called Filmic Pro. You can white balance on it. You can change your shutter speed on it. You can change your 1080 to 2K. You can change your frame rate. There's so much stuff you can do on that. And the thing that's really beautiful about that is you can shoot in log versus natural or dynamic. So you can shoot in dynamic and in natural, which is generally like, it's gonna be generally the colors, the balance that you're used to seeing. Analog, log, when you hear people say log, it shoots very kind of like flatter, not as colorful, but what it does is then in post-production, you can bring out, it takes in more information. It's shooting at a lower natural color, but it's taking in more information so that when you then do the color correction in post-production, it becomes more vibrant afterwards. A lot of lights I use is like, I'll use a Chinese lantern and a light bulb, man. And you can do a lot throwing in light bulbs around and get a Chinese lantern, get a bounce. There's little things online where you can just get, oh, let me put this bounce here and a Chinese lantern there, and you got your lighting set up. But you know, maybe throw a light bulb in get a lamp in your frame, and then you got like this light, this natural light in there, and that's the thing that's gonna change the way your look at your film is. So, let me see if I can find this thing. Okay, so this is really awesome. This thing is called, and so I'm not, you guys don't even know, this took me years to find this, because I didn't know what I was looking for. And that guy on the Mobile Motion said it took him years. He was like, I was trying to figure out how they made it look like film, where it's all soft and glowy. And you've seen it. You're like, how do they do that? How is that light in that window not so sharp? How is it bleeding in? This is called a black chromis filter. I'm like, what? I mean, I'm telling you guys, it took me a long time to find this. We're learning it right now. Black chromis filter, basically, it's just like a little bit softer. But what it does is it softens your lines, it softens the space, it softens this light so that it's not so sharp, right? You want film to look like it's this pretty soft thing. And so then when I'm walking behind, you'll see like this glow. I was showing someone yesterday how this works, and I have at the end a shot that it took me a long time to figure out really how to make it work, because I tried it on a few different things along the way. Okay, so one of the things, why I promote this, you guys are like, iPhone, right? You know, we gotta be working on the this or the that. One of the things that guy on that Mobile Motion said that I was like, that's what I've been thinking a lot about, is he said, what's the best camera to shoot your film on? The one you know the best. And what can you shoot on every day is your iPhone.
How do you attach the filters?
Right, yeah, let me find the right thing. Here we go. Let's see. Oh, that's the wrong one. I have one somewhere. Here we go. So, I've gone through a few different ND filters. I've gone through, yes.
You keep the mic on you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
All right. So now this little cover has this little couple things here, and then this little backdrop has a little, like a kind of a, I don't know, what is that, like a little ridge? And then I can't really see. Normally I'm better at this, but I have my glasses are somewhere. There it is, it's on. So I also have an ND filter. Oh, here it is. My variable ND filter. Now all this stuff, maybe it was about $500 or $600. I did spend some money on some things I probably shouldn't have bought along the way. Will you do me a favor? Will you screw that onto this? Thanks.
Do you have a dedicated iPhone for your filmmaking, or you just use
No,
the one that-
I'm not that rich. I spent all my money on these lenses. I want to get that 14, but then I'm like, ooh, but I could wait for the 15. But you know, I said that at the 13 and all that stuff, right? So this is a variable ND filter. So if like you have a lot of sun or a little sun, you can, switch. I was like, that's great. I don't have to buy a whole bunch. It goes from, my glasses are in here somewhere. So, it goes from a variable numbers. But let me turn this around and I'm going to open up my phone and I'm going to pull up my Filmic Pro app and I might not, I was going to say a bad joke, but it's not that generation anymore. I'm changing the whole. All right, I can't see. Okay, so it starts to work like a camera camera, right? So right here, I can adjust my white balance. Let's see, let's white balance this one over here. It's not doing that great, but all right. So then I can adjust my shutter speed. I really got to find these glasses.
What is the op called again?
Filmic Pro. I think it's about $14.
You can download it for free,
Oh, great.
but if you want the
Oh, the analog. Oh, okay. Maybe something like that. The
the
newer.
good stuff, you gotta pay.
Oh, well, that's the name of the game. Okay, so let's see. So first when I do the white balance, I can do it in like the automatic, and then I can then shut it down to red so that it changes the white, locks the white balance. Because one of the things that's like an easy way to see that you're not, like you're amateur, is that your white balance changes in the middle of a shot, or that the focus goes to autofocus. So this helps you lock down. This is your focus. When it goes to red, it locks it down. But you can also move it, like as you're moving with the person, you can move the focus with them. This is like your exposure. But here is where you can change to, you can add a filter, you can change to log, you can change to natural. Oh, that's why it was on that funny color, was because I had it in dynamic. And so let's see. So over here, I have it at 1/48 shutter speed, and then I'm gonna hit red to lock it in. One of the reasons why it's at 1/48 shutter speed, let's see, it's at 1080p, but I can change it to 2K if I wanted to. Right here, I can change all this stuff. But one of the reasons why it's at, the shutter speed's at 1/48 is because I have the frames per second at 24 frames per second. So if I change it to 30, then that's then it can go up to like 160, the frame rate can go to 160th. But this ISO above is a really high number. So I want to have the ISO at a lower number. And in here, I don't really need the neutral density. That's really for the sunlight outside. So I'll take it off. I don't want it to fall when I take it off, so I'm going to take my time. All right. And now I have more light. The ISO can drop down. You want to keep your ISO kind of around 600 or below. You want to keep your frame rate low, because that's what's going to start to give you guys motion and blur. It's going to make it look less like an iPhone and more like a cinematic experience. That's the keyword that everyone's going for, right? Cinematic. It's trending. All right. Over here, let's see. Okay, so there's all the good stuff. There's a lot of stuff here. You can exchange here this. That's going to a different thing, so it's not, I have to move that thing over. Okay, so let me put this. Actually, if you want to pass it around, you can pass it around, and I'll talk to you guys about some more things while we're at it. Let's see what else I have. Oh, that's that. So before I got that, I went and bought this kit that was like 20 bucks. I'm gonna show you some stuff I did on this kit that I was like, hey, that 20 bucks was worth it. The first thing was like a little cheapy ND filter, and it was just like a clip. And then there was some like star filters and some like kaleidoscope filters in here. I'll pass this around too. Some, what do you call that? Like a fisheye filter. Like there's a bunch of stuff you can add to your little iPhone. I'll pass that around that way. Yeah. Yeah, we could watch one right now. Okay, let's show the first video and then pause if someone's playing the videos, because this is one of the first things I did, and I was really trying to get it to look like, like an old 16 millimeter or Super 8 high contrast kind of a thing that you would have seen. Is there someone that presses play? I don't know that thing over there. Oh, okay. And I was inspired by a film called Nights of Cabiria by Federico Fellini, and I didn't have my normal camera person on, and the person I asked to download the app didn't. But these are just excuses. I do want to say, if you're the director, you got to take responsibility for everything, because you also get to take credit for everything. If you're not the director, don't challenge the director on set. It's not that thing. Like, I know people think that that's okay. It's not. And that's been a key issue, especially for me as a woman. If you're on a set and someone else is the director, be there for that person. Don't be there for your own ego. If you want to press play, go for it. So these are like apps and stuff I found. This is my iPhone, by the way. So I also added grain to this in post-production, which gives it more texture. I should have added more scratches. That's the other part is shot in my backyard with a green screen. That's a green screen within my backyard. One of the key things to the green screen is to make sure that you light the green screen separately from the person. So the green screen has to be lit evenly, and then you light the person. Just so you know.
Is that why you shot it outside?
No, it was shot at night. We used a bunch of Chinese lanterns. I shot it outside just because I didn't want them in my house. The white, but if you wanted a color effect, you could go for that. Yeah. Let's see.
This is supposed to emulate 8mm?
It looks like it's probably trying to emulate 16 millimeter more than 8 millimeter. My husband knows he's an artist, so he does Illustrator, and so he does a lot of these graphics for me. But there's a lot of apps out there that you have a lot of graphics options on these apps. This is also on my on my iPhone. And I'm really proud of this because I learned a lot from the last one. See how like that light glows behind her now? I'm showing this because I've learned along the way. By the way, I do not endorse this artist at all, and I'm currently in legal litigation with her. It happens. She secretly filed for the LLC of the company I brought her onto, kind of a thing. Yeah, okay. Well, I'm a person that keeps my quiet, so what I don't know, so whatever. So this is the anamorphic lens, which gives it that like widescreen, you know. I was going for like the cinema scope kind of a thing. I started kind of playing with that other stuff now. When you do go through things with straight lines, it does warp them, just so you know. And so look at that. That's the anamorphic lens. See the way the light is, and it has that black chromis filter on it. That gives. You're not gonna get. Look at that. I love. You guys don't know how much I love that. That's my dad, by the way. that yellow part is shot out of my garage. So again, like it's that anamorphic lens with that black chromis filter on that's really like giving it this look. See those flares and stuff? That's what you want to look Back in the day, they didn't want that. they wanted to get away from that. So, yes, yeah. And now watch this. This is gonna be cool. So I saw this on that guy's thing. Okay, so when he starts walking, we just got a long pole with the Chinese lantern, and we just kind of like walked with him so that we kept that light going like that. Because you're always like, oh, they're walking through, and oh, it's like his ugly lighting right here. We just followed him with that Chinese lantern. Okay, so this was with that $20 lens kit that I got. This one was shot, gave it like so much.
That way, boys can do whatever they want to do. Right, girls?
Yes, ma'am.
This is some of those lenses in that lens kit. That's an iPhone with those lenses right there. $20 lens kit. You see why I'm telling you guys? Like, go for it. Just do whatever. Just go for different things. Learn, make mistakes. It's not. I don't want to say it doesn't cost that much because it sounds like a lot to us, and I'm sure you know it is. Look at that. That's a different lens filter that we tried out. Then I got this thing, this kit, you know, where you can like split the screen kind of stuff. Oh, you know, I'm trying out different things along the way. That's my husband. We called him the day of, and I was like, Anda's guy can't show up. And he's like, what? I go, you gotta get down here. We need you to do something. That's the LA River, and you know, it's always fun to shoot in the river. Oh, and she's on the back of my convertible. It's a Volkswagen convertible.
Sometimes I get dressed, I should take. Other days I share away. You'll find things that never ever been. Some people they change their minds, the battle's not in. Love, not fighting with them, all of them. When I feel that's the time, remember what I said. I wanna hear you say, I was born to make you happy.
Like really, we called him. I was like, you need to come down here right now and bring our son. He was in the beginning. This was a studio, like I say studio, a place that she rented out of East LA.
How do we beat him?
I saw guys out.
No, we can't win with 8. We actually want to do all.
How do we do that?
We let them eat cake. But first, a costume change.
The sound effects I got them off YouTube. You know. So when my husband, like, we started filming him, and we started filming the fights, because like, what? And so then at some point I was like, oh, okay, this is the food fight part. And he was like, what? He is. I do endorse this person highly. Her name is Just Onda on Instagram. She's a very good person. I really love her.
There's like yellow smoke.
Oh, she came with these smoke bombs. That was all Honda. She's like, I got these smoke bombs. But then we did want to do like a fun little thing for her. Oh, and this is like a little thing she wanted to, and I brought this. I'm not that happy with some of the look on it. It's okay, but it's kind of dark. But when you go darker, it is more cinematic than lighter. So I'm okay with it. But the reason I brought it is because I wanted to show you guys some of the kind of silly, weird stuff. And I think I only have part of it because, like, just you got to really think out of the box and think, what can you do with all this? And actually, this is kind of projecting a little darker, just so you know. So if you were on your phone looking at it, it'd be a little brighter. And she was like, I want him to do this and that. And so we said, okay, we'll turn this cardboard box into a TV. And then we did that. We made this animation on it. And I'm showing you this because, like, this is no budget, right? So this is stuff you got to think. It's like, there he goes, jumping into the TV, right? And so I had to figure this out. And so this is what no budget filmmaking is like. You know, you think outside of the box. Which what? That's Premiere Pro, and I just played with sizes and positions to do all that. So a lot of it's just fidgeting along the way. She found these backdrops, the glowy stuff on some app, so I threw them in. And then she wanted this animation thing, so I found a backdrop and threw them on there. This is something I want to tell you guys. So she wanted the Jetsons, so he's wearing blue and green, and I have a blue backdrop and a green backdrop for, so I was like, shit. So I went out and got a pink one, because I was like, pink, right? So then when I did put it in, it took pink out of their face. So I'm telling you guys this so you don't do it. Figure out, just get rid of the blue or get rid of the green, one or the other. But it did take the pink out, and so later I had to like do a little bit of tweaking with different things with them along the way. I don't know how much of this video I put in there, but she wanted like a Judy Jetsons, but some other, like, it was with Onda. I show up and she tells me an idea and I'm like, okay, let me figure it out. Let's see. Are there any questions as we continue on? One of the things I would suggest, if you want to do like a GoFundMe to raise money, you can. But I would also suggest, I feel like it's really oh yeah, I'm so sorry, he just jumped out of the TV. So one of the things, I'm real proud of it. It looks so janky, but I was like, well, screw it, let's go for janky. And then I do these things to try to make cuts happen. I know there's some apps that you can like just make like whoop whoop and it's a cut, but I feel like it's cheap and cheesy. Not cheap and cheesy. It's like just generic. Yeah. So I try to come up with some different things. So that backdrop, if you saw that transition, I just cut out a piece of the other backdrop and then I made it into something to like wipe along the way.
It's more handcrafted.
I feel like I'm good for handcrafted. I think that's more my style anyway. Okay, so see that little spot above the boy's head? Did you see a little light above the boy's head? That was because behind the green screen, there was a light on. So be careful not to do that. And like, I'm gonna tell you guys some of my mistakes, I don't care. This is what I suggest on that on the fundraising, right? You can get oh, I like that part right there. I don't know, I'm real proud of some of this. You don't know how many layers. That's all in layers to make it happen. And then there's this part where I made like the Saturn go around her at the end. So you guys go ahead and keep watching because I'm like, some of it looks like it starts to look the same, and then there's a moment where I was like, oh, don't miss that part. Because I'm real proud of that. I had to learn these things, you know? I mean, someone with high tech and a lot of money, it's real easy for them. Let's see. Oh, okay. So I think this is just clips of this thing. We showed it last night. This is called Now You Know It.
Welcome to my archaeological
Is this your
dig.
most recent work?
Yeah. This is all on an iPhone as well. We shot it in one day. It's like a
Sorry, lady.
it's like a
Man. Where was
Is
I?
it the iPhone?
Oh yeah.
yes, that's the iPhone 12.
Are tight as fuck. Have you ever seen a dinosaur nail? Deli and sexy. How can such OG killers be killed like a little baby bitch?
Okay, so she's blue screen. Now behind her at the park was a little kid. Watch, you're gonna see. Look for the little kid. Right. Oh, dude, I couldn't get that kid, so I moved her body as the kid moved. So I'm just telling you, you gotta think of some things, you know. Like, don't let something come in and you're like think you're ruined. No, you gotta figure it out. It's just that's the solution. This is a lot of stuff I just figured out, like how to make things happen along the way,
Who took out the dinosaur?
You ever get frustrated
Mexico.
and couldn't find it?
all the time.
What you looking at?
This is the second part of the clip, so I just want to let you know that went one longer in case you're like that was weird. This is a different segment. And I'm showing this one because the sun was real bright. Try to get a silk screen, put it up over it. This is shot out of my garage. Now we were trying to, keep that cinematic look with the 24 frames and all that stuff. But what happened was, and why I'm showing you this is, I was really frustrated because it was over. Actually, could someone turn down the sound real quick or either pause it? So she's overexposed, which really disappointed me. But I'll take first. Could you pause it? Because I do want to say some things right now. Because I do think, like, as the director, you are responsible for things, right? And it's easy to go and blame someone else, right? That's not that guy's responsibility because, one, we shot this whole thing in one day. He had no assistant as his camera, for a camera person. And I said I want 24 frames, and he did the best he could. And when you're shooting, and I've been on shoots like this where people want me to do multiple jobs, that's not a problem, but don't expect this level from every job. You're gonna have this level because I got 5 jobs now. So that's something I don't put on anyone else but myself or my low economic standing. So, okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Those other contestants disappear or totally.
But the backdrop,
Shout out to the best lawyers.
I found the backdrop online, and then my the co-writer, he went in and did, turn this up. She's funny.
Shit, man.
I put this part on. It's only the small segment. I put this part in because she's so overexposed. Again, the same thing. We had a lot to do in one day. We had to shoot her at that time. Look at that sun coming in. But I love those rays of light because of that lens. Okay, pause real quick. So I put this in because this is a big learning lesson that I really don't want any of you guys to have to go through. Is this, when you put all those lenses on top of each other, anything that's in between that's dirt looks like that. So on the other shots, you don't necessarily see it, but on this one, with the light coming through, you do. Press play. Because I think what I wound up doing was cropping it. I made it bigger. I was like, I'm just going to go with this. I still love the shot. I want to ask the lady to come back and do the shot. Oh, pause real quick. I want to ask the lady to come back and do the shot, but she's like 97, she already came out. So the reason why I showed that shot and now this one is because this is the difference between and this is why you buy the cheap shit. Cheap, right? Is because you got to learn, and if you don't have the opportunities, you're not going to learn. So it's okay if you make mistakes. You don't stop going. So this is, from that last shot to this one, I was like, you know what? I need to show them an example of the right way to do this. So I actually went out and shot this shot for you guys. So I went and cleaned. I was like, that's not the right way to clean it, right? So I went and cleaned it. I was like, I got my son off the game, which, he really, you should thank him. And then I was like, okay, go stand over there and then come over here. Now, I mean, I love this shot. It's a really simple, like seems like nothing. To me, it looks like 1979, 1635 millimeter. It's on the iPhone. Look at how soft these lines are. And watch, my son's gonna walk through, and I'm showing you this because this is on that same stuff right there. My son's gonna walk through. Look at this, look at these rays of light. My son's gonna walk through, and you're gonna watch how it glows around him. Go ahead and press. Like it's, I don't know, I mean, maybe I'm just like geeking out. Like, I love that. I just love it. That's an iPhone. I'm like, I never thought you could do that on an iPhone. What time is it? And we have till another hour? Oh, okay, about half an hour? Questions?
Yes. Sorry. There. So I apologize if you missed.
Oh, no, don't apologize.
Whether that's $10,000, $500.
Sometimes
I feel like
everything depends on what's most important because like the Chola one,
yes.
I spent a lot of money on what?
Actors.
Hair and makeup.
Okay, yeah. Yeah.
What I spend my money on the Chola one? Hair and makeup.
If you had a lot of Spark donations, I noticed.
Oh, at the end of that one.
Oh,
That's a
okay,
different
that's
one.
Maria.
This one right here, no, but well, that one was a lot of money, but that one was art direction.
Okay.
So a lot of the money for that one went into art direction because that had a certain particular look, whereas the Chola one, now you know it.
So art direction, that's like set building,
Yes.
costume.
But that's not every project. So you have to look at every project as its own individual project. And if you want it to have like, there's a movie I highly, highly, highly recommend, especially if you're here shooting in Houston. And I say this because like I look around at Houston and there's a lot of different directions you can go in Houston. You could go super animated looking like a John Waters, or you could go super raw and earthy looking. And this movie, it's out of Seattle in the early 80s, and it's actually a documentary, and it's called Streetwise, and you can find it on YouTube because it's so good. The movie Kids is based on it. It's so good because it shows like kids, teenage runaway street life in Seattle. But there's no money spent on lighting. There's no money, and it's so good. But it's like, you gotta say, what's the story? And so for Now You Know It, the story was badass cholas. So they gotta look badass. They can't look janky, and they're gonna tell you a story. They don't look like there's some real looking cholas, and I don't fuck with them. They come at me online, and I'm like, no, dude, talk to my sister. She's the one coming at me. Self? So also you might have a project that you're like, I really want amazing camera work, so I really want, like this next project that someone else is budget and they're bringing me on to, it's their script, which I'm really excited because I'm usually doing a lot of shit. So this is exciting because I have someone else doing the shit, right? And so in that one, it's really dark and gritty, and it's like in a house. And it's very, like David Lynchy or Fincher, David Fincher. And so the money's probably going to go into the director of photography and the lighting, right? And so, but I do want to say, find a good sound guy, or sound person, I should say. And Now You Know It and Bloody Maria, I ADR'd them, the whole thing. And it was a lot of work for me. It was like, I knew, but here's the thing too. I've had sound people gone out and shot, still didn't get good sound because you can't control an airplane, you can't control an ice cream truck, you can't control a dog. And so I was like, I want really clean sound on these because I want them to seem weird. You know, I don't want them to seem like they're part of like natural everyday life. And so if you do have that, you can get a sound guy because planes fly over in the natural everyday life. But if so so it all really depends on the story. I'm sorry, go ahead.
When you were doing sound, when you shot, did you keep that in mind that this is all going to be ADR?
Yeah, that's why, you know what?
I mean, obviously, you would be like,
Yeah.
okay, AC is on, we can shoot with AC, but did it, change anything as far as how they talk or enunciate? Were you worried about that?
Okay, so I'm going to say, I don't know that answer. Let me tell you some things, okay? The thing that changed my mind about ADR was when I saw my feature film. By the way, if you want to go onto my YouTube and subscribe, my feature film, if you're over 18, is there. It was shot on a camera that was totally experimental, never released onto the market. I do know why. It was $30,000 feature called Delusions of Grandeur. You do have to be 18 and over to log in. It was shot in 2007, set in San Francisco in the mid-90s. And we made it for $30,000. I think it still like holds up. I would say, I do want to do one disclaimer. At the time in 2006, 2007, one of the main characters is transgender. We did search for a transgender actor, and at that time there were not a lot of transgenders to find as actors. And so whenever we did approach a transgender person at an event, they often thought we were shooting pornography. So we weren't able to find a transgender actor for the part. Obviously today I do know more transgender actors, and I do say that because I do think it is an issue that we all can address in life. And but the actor that did play the part, Ilusion, is played by a really wonderful gay gentleman, Salvador Benavides, his heart was the point. Anyway. Audio dialogue replacement. So people will call it dubbing because they think that's what dubbing is. Dubbing is actually when the film's in French, but a person's speaking it in English. That's dubbing, right? But ADR is actually replacing the dialogue. Audio dialogue replacement.
Where like you speak it afterwards and you apply.
Yeah, what you're looking at it, and then you're saying, oh, don't go there. And then we put the sound in, and then we pop it in.
Right.
Okay. So when I shot Delusions of Grandeur, I didn't even have an external monitor at times. Sometimes we couldn't even see what we were shooting. Like, I'm telling you, this was a real thing. And when we shot that, we were in a coffee shop, and there was a refrigerator or something like that was going, and it was really bad, so we ADR'd it. And at first, you're gonna get hung up on the original sound that you've been listening to for a long time. Now, when I watch the film, I can't tell what's ADR'd, but I can tell what has bad sound. Very. So when we went into Bloody Maria, I was like, we have no money, very little money. We have to shoot a lot and fast. I want to set up really interesting shots, and I don't want to spend a lot of time with like, plane, this, that, everything, wind, all these uncontrollable things in low budget. And there's a French actress. I can't remember her name right now, but she was the actress who was in Jules et J'aime. By the way, almost all those French New Wave films are ADR. And that's actually why they were edited a lot the way they are, is because of that, because they had these loud cameras. So the French actress said something. She said, I love to do ADR because it gives me an opportunity to only focus on my voice. Whereas when I'm acting, I have to focus on my blocking, I have to focus on my movement, I have to focus on my facial expressions. And I always tell my actors that first, because actors freeze up. And when your actor comes into ADR, by the way, I have a sound mic in here. I have this like janky ass mic, dude. I use this on that, and we go into my computer, and then they come next to me, and then we put sometimes I can screw the mic onto here, and then I'd use this. Thanks for reminding me.
So you did the ADR on your own then?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have no money. I'm poor. I'm from East LA. I got 2 kids. And so, yeah, exactly. And so, I test it out. I see how high up and down I want to go.
You save so much money doing that because you didn't have to hire a sound guy and the equipment.
But
the actors.
here's my question. Here's the thing. Here's the thing I have to look at now. Okay, I found a really good sound person. He's $200 a day for me. Don't tell anybody else. For everyone else, he's 300, but he likes me.
Yeah.
I mean, not like. Anyway, looking back at it, I was like, I spent and delayed my project for so long doing that sound. If I had raised that money to pay that person, that would have adjusted that. Does it adjust still a barking dog or this or that? No, but he is a good person. I like him. He's really thorough.
And basically, the sound person just like holds the mic over the action.
That's a regular sound person. This guy is like, I don't even see him do it. He, like I told you, he's going in the full, like if you get a really good sound person, see that's the problem is I've had really bad sound people that I paid and I was like, I wasted money on that. So don't just get a sound person. If you have a really good sound person, treat that person well, you know? And so I've had some sound people that it's money down the drain. So this, I'm sorry, I paused it a little bit.
No, we were just talking about the sound.
Yeah.
And the ADR for that, because it's,
So I spent a lot of time. It slowed me down. It is monotonous. It is tedious. This person does have a program which does cost money, and he can do ADR and then they pop it right in. I don't know how much that program is, but I was like using like nanoseconds of time
It's $750. $750 a year.
for the
Yeah.
program. $750. There you go. So find the right sound person who has that and treat them right. Buy them tequila when you show up, you know. And so this person, he puts mics here. He's real respectful of the talent. And so I really appreciate that person, and I like to express that to that person a lot.
With Bloody Maria, the visuals was most important. That's
Yeah, I would have hired him if I'd known him at the time. Okay, I do want to afterwards talk about raising money. So go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna add on to that, like, do y'all use like the added ears, like micing people, like those little tiny mics?
I've tried them, like on my own, and they click. You hear stuff.
It rubs the fabric.
There's a difference. I mean, I'm like, the part I can't figure out is spending money on finding the right person, spending money on that person, versus spending money on, like, again, I bought the shit that I don't use. It's like $100 that I didn't use. Another thing I bought, like, but then I had to buy the nicer one, you know? So it's like sometimes you're gonna step over the penny to get to the dollar, step over the dollar to get to the penny, right? And so that is that. I was learning lesson number 40,245. But so the right sound person, if I had them on Bloody Maria, that would have been a nice person to have. I didn't have the money for a sound person. I would have still had the wrong sound person at that time because I didn't know this. I work on other people's shoots. Be respectful. Go work on their shoots. Be friendly. Put the hours in. You're going to be there a lot of hours. You're not going to make the money that you think you're worth. Nobody does. People, I'm like, I'm spending money on you. See? So learn, make connections. It's hard because we're like, oh, I'm not getting paid even this much. No, not a lot, you know. It's unfortunate. Were you gonna say something? No? I'm sorry, I thought I saw a hand. Yeah, so you could get it, you could try it out. I would borrow one first and test it to see it. Did it work?
It's also different. And yeah, they had some issues with the clothing as well.
Because if you pin them on the outside, it's not so bad, but you like this. But if you're gonna try to tuck it in and all that other stuff, it can be. And then also sometimes the stuff even just moving around. That's the other thing too. You might get a sound person with a pole, but their pole might not be a good pole. Like this person that I hire, he's got good shit. Like he comes with some stuff, and then he goes home. He told me he goes home, cleans all that stuff, all the different mics between people. Cleans it all, he like logs things and he takes care of all that. So I'm like, this person, if you can find that person or, you know, like get on shoots, Be cool with people. Put in the effort. I want to say something real quick about raising funds. You can do like the Seed and Spark. You can do the GoFundMe. You can do all that stuff. It is for me. It was highly stressful. Like I really don't like it. And so I was like, I know we need some money for that. Now you know. I don't want to go up online and start begging for money again because we did that for Bloody Maria. So I went on Canva, made like a little thing, and it said, "Hey, I'm shooting this project. If you donate $5, you buy my crew waters for the day. If you donate $25, you buy them snacks. If you donate $50, you buy them this for the day. If you donate $100, you buy this for the day." And then I sent it only directly to my strongest supporters, my godparents, my cousins, my friends from college. And in one day, I raised $1,000. And I was like, dude, I can't go on and beg for money, but I can say, hey, if not, cool, I love you. Keep on keeping on. I get it. I've been there. But if you can, $5 buys that case of water. So that's my thing about raising funds is like sometimes it doesn't have to be so daunting. If you think, who's my strongest supporters? Let me just send them a cute little thing and let me put all the links. Canva, no, what do you call that? Cash App, PayPal.
But do you think it's because of the caliber of filmmaker you are now that they realize?
The people that gave me money are like my cousin that lives in Connecticut, dude. Not people that were. The other people, my friends, they want to see me fail. That would make them feel so good.
That'd be my family. Mine's opposite, but okay.
You know, you got to figure out who your strengths and weaknesses are. What time is it?
6:06.
We got 15 minutes.
Distribution, how do you go about that?
I'd rather talk about something else.
But it's a good
I got a really good story though.
Okay.
We're editing Delusions of Grandeur. It late into the night. My friend he was my co-filmmaker, and he lived in Hollywood. I live in East LA. He didn't drive. So my husband would drive to drop him off late at night, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night. We'd take him, this is before we had kids, and we'd come back home. And so one night we're in East LA, and this is around 2008, 2009. This is giving me a little bit of a headache. 2009. We're driving through City Terrace. It's not, prior to gentrification. We're driving through right by the park. I see this cop car with the lights off coming out of the driveway right after we go. And I said to my husband, "Oh, did you see that cop car?" He's like, "Yeah." So then we stop at the stop sign, and then we go through, and there go the lights, right? I was like, "Did you not stop?" Because I stopped. So then here comes the cop. We're in this truck. Gustavo's in the back. I'm in the front. The cop comes up. He rolled down his window. Rolled down all the windows. So Gustavo and I rolled down our windows, but nobody was here. I said, "Roll down all 4 windows right now." This guy had his hands like this and everything. I was like, "Dang, dude, what happened?" And then he's like, "I don't know." So the guy comes up, "Let me see your this and that." And then my husband goes, "Officer, can I ask you why you pulled me over?" And he goes, "Your registration's expired." And my husband always forgets to put the tags on. I'm like, "Are they in the glove compartment?" He goes, "They're on the plates." So I was like, dang it. So this cop says he ran the plates, and in their computer system, you know what they're looking for. Let me see your ID so we can see if you have a warrant, brown guy. Okay, so they go back there. I'm mouthy. And I start mouthing off, and I'm like, "This fucking cop is in there." I didn't know one was standing right here. And then he comes forward, and he's like, "What are you doing?" He says something, and he goes, where do you live? Because see, here's the other thing. Once they start talking to us, we don't sound like we're from East LA. At that time, what are we doing in East LA? We're picking up drugs, right? That's what's going on in their mind, all right? They're asking the questions to try to find something, right? And so this cop says, "What are you guys doing? What are you doing in East LA?" And I go, "We live here." And he's like, and so I had to tell him where. And he's like, "Well, what are you guys doing this late at night?" I'm like, 11 o'clock at night? We're driving our friend home. Where does he live? In Hollywood. "Well, you must be nice friends. I wouldn't be driving my friend home." And I go, "Well, that's why I have friends." But I I started thinking I'm gonna get my husband shot. Like this is 2010. I'm thinking I'm gonna get my husband shot. I gotta calm down. And so he's like, well, so then I said, he goes, well, what were you guys doing? I said, we're editing. Editing what? I'm like, a film. And then he goes, do you got distribution? I looked at him. I was like, I'm done. Like Gustavo. Well, mijo, you got to understand. You have to go to a film festival first. Anyway, no, I don't have access to distribution. It's rough, you know. It's really hard.
Very hard.
I did want to say, Stephanie and I, and Gabe, I'll come to you real quick. Stephanie, Gabe, and I have been writing on something called Writer Duet. If you don't know Writer Duet, you should. It's free for the most part. You can go online with other people, and they can write, your co-writers, we Zoom next to our script. So we can write at the same time, we can see what each other does as we're writing. We can have a conversation and add it to it. So it's something I wanted to add to this conversation for you all as well. Writing can be very daunting. You know, it's like 90% anxiety, right? And so set the time to write. And a writing teacher told me, if you set 15 minutes a week to write, you're gonna get a project done. It might not be at the time you think it would be done if you're only doing 15, but if you set it and you show up and you do it, you will get your project done.
Do you use Film Freeway for like submitting?
Yeah. Film Freeway is definitely the easiest way to go about it. And also, I'm a festival director for the Latina Independent Film Festival, and we also use Film Freeway that way as well.
So I'm a director, I make dances on film occasionally. Usually I do live stuff. But I have found the cost, like it's so cost prohibitive to like submit my work to all the
Sucks.
festivals.
It sucks.
$50 here, 25 there, 35 here. It's so much.
It's horrible.
Like, I guess you could put that in the budget at the beginning of the project.
So someone asked, so the film I was producing, and I was talking to them before we started shooting, and we were trying to figure out ways like where we were going to save money, and in post-production. And I'm in LA, so it's not just Film Freeway. We're talking. So I said. So they said, well, we could save money here. We could save. What? The director said, how much is post-production going to cost, Iris? And I said, well, you're going to have this much for the post-production sound person, this much for the color guy, this much for the editor, this much for that. And then his person that wound up not sticking through the whole project was like, well, we could do it ourselves, and we could do this. I go, we could, but you should put that money aside because we should, if we can, we have $3,000 for publicity. That's crazy, right? It's like it's publicity, the festivals, all of it. Yeah, it's very daunting. Get some supporters. Hey, I'm trying to submit to this festival. If you want to submit, if you want to support $25, stuff like that. It can be really annoying, especially when you just put money into it. But I will say, as a festival person, we did our festival anyway. The filmmakers got a lot when they showed up. We gave them a T-shirt and a little goodie bag, and we put together stuff. And so some of the festivals, they do need that money. Some people, it looks like I get things like, oh, submit your film for 50% off for this, and we're gonna put it up online. And I'm like, who are you? Because I can put my film up online. I'm gonna give you 50% off, so. That's my thing on that.
Latina filmmaker.
I'm sorry, say the first part?
You're a Latina filmmaker.
Yeah.
You've been doing this for a while. What's your relationship working within institutions run by the government and white people? In Houston, there's basically a handful of funds that go to the artists, and then all the poor artists, we all kind of like bicker against each other so we can beg for funds, or you go to institutions that'll say they provide opportunities for brown people, and they do. They'll show you films, but they won't hire brown people, and they won't put brown people as curators. But hey, you need the space.
All true.
Here. How are you doing it? Is there a key? Or are you just like fucking them? Or if you found a good bridge, like, because I'm trying to navigate that path myself, and I go with prideful. and I kind of start thinking like they really need me, but then I'm like, oh shit, I'm poor now, I need them.
You could do both. I mean, why can't you think both, right? I mean, both of those statements are true statements. Um, so, in other countries like Chile, Mexico, et cetera, right? The government funds young filmmakers. So why are Chicano filmmakers not doing well here, but you see a Chilean filmmaker come here and make a film out of East LA? Because the government funded that young filmmaker. This shit breaks my heart. I'm like feeling it right now in my skin because it makes me angry. As a filmmaker out of East LA, I constantly see filmmakers coming to East LA who come from either privilege or from a government-funded country, that Canada, you know, and then they're trying to tell some story, and I'm like, that ain't East LA. And so it's super annoying. You in Houston actually get more funds than I do in LA. There's a lot more people and a lot less funding because you guys got that oil money. So gratitude for what you have, perspective, but honesty, right? All of those things matter. But it's hard. Grants are hard. Figure it out. Right now, what I'm doing is I'm actually putting together a workshop grant. I'm putting together a grant for a workshop to like workshop month-long things where I walk people through making their 3 to 5 minute script, where I walk them through putting together this, like, and then at the end of it, and I want to buy equipment, like even just Apple boxes, so that at the end of it they have 2 days with equipment that they can shoot a no-budget project. I want to buy these bulbs that like you pop in. And you can do a lot. Like there's like about $2,000 out of the grant that I want to put into that. And then I want, so then I want to take these filmmakers that I've been showing this and that to, onto a set for 2 days with professional filmmakers I know, so that they can learn under them for 2 days how to do things. So what am I going to use part of that money for from that grant? This is what I'm proposing. I'm trying to put this together right now, and so I'm excited to be here. So I'm going to pay those people to then teach these, and I want to put together different groups with 5 people, a poet, a photographer, an organizer, so that they can work together. Within a year, they've got 5 IMDb credits, right? Okay, so what do? I pay those crew people for those 2 days or that workshop to show them, and what am I gonna do on those 2 days? I'm gonna make my fucking film.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to show people how to do this. That's what I'm trying to work on right now, because I've never applied for grants. I've always just hustled. And so I'm like, we got a grant for that film festival, and I was like, wait a minute. And then people started coming up to me and asking me like, oh, how can you do this? How can you do that? I'm like, oh, let me show you. And then I was like, well, how do I set that up? And I have to figure out a way to do that, you know? So anyway, that's like, you got to think, you got to figure it out, you know? Because I'm a hustler, baby. So it's, you know, unfortunately, we live in a capitalist country, and so rich kids will get ahead while the working class have to figure it out. But it makes us a little bit different, smarter. I don't know. You know. Scrappy. Any questions? I can't think if I had anything else I wanted to say. I feel like I was like, oh, I think I have a lot to say. Let me see this real quick. Here's some good skills, right? So communicate clearly. When you speak vaguely, people make vague decisions, and it's not what you wanted. So communicate really clearly. Be decisive, you know, like go for it. Say, you know what, put it right there. Like, don't doubt yourself and not know what to do. If you make a mistake, then you keep going. That's why you're having this equipment, to keep going, because then you learn from that mistake. Let's see. Set dates and times to write. Check your ego. Well, good, I went over this stuff, right? I should get those glasses back on. I never needed glasses when I was younger. Okay, so check your ego, but listen to your instincts. Because I wouldn't be suing her if I listened to my instincts. Practice discernment, which is a big lesson I learned. Watch. Oh, this is really a good one. This is okay. So one of the things when I saw the films, I was like, these films, they just need to edit them down. 5 minutes, maybe 15 minutes to a 20-minute film, or or 2 minutes, But edit it down. Um, One of the ways to practice this when you don't have money and aren't shooting is by watching things you like, watching things you want to make something like. You've seen the film, you've heard it, so now watch it with the sound off. I like to watch something. I've watched that pilot of Fleabag probably like 5 times. And I've watched it every which way. I've written like shot lists from it for a scene. So I'll look at the shot list, I'll look at the editing, I'll try to see what it is they did that I liked. Did they stick with one shot throughout the scene? How many shots did they use in that scene? Why did they use more? Why did they use less? I don't know. I mean, I know no budget, sometimes it's our economics. Let's see. This is good. When you're shooting, get the coverage. So set up, oh, you got this great idea. It's the Goodfellas 8-minute long shot. And it's going to take you 20 takes to do it. That's bad. That's not a good idea. Set up your coverage. So you get your wide shot to establish the scene. Shoot that scene all the way through, because sometimes you're going to go back to editing and you're going to have a moment where you can't link one thing to the next. So then you cut to the wide and then you go back in. So I've done this mistake many a times. It took me a long time to figure this out. Shoot your scene. The shot doesn't look pretty. There's a lot of dead time in between. Maybe the performance wasn't perfect. Do not get stuck on that shot. That's not your shot. That's the coverage, right? So shoot that shot 3 times maybe. Then go in for your coverage. If you stay wide, 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 you don't have anything to edit with. So you want to go into the mediums, you want to go into the close-ups, you want to do all that stuff. Get as many different shots as you can, rather than getting stuck on one shot and you're being too myopic. Not just you, me, right? I'm being too myopic and I'm looking at this one little nuance and I spent too much time on that. And then I go to look at the editing and I'm like, I can't tell them apart. I don't know which shot's which.
So when I was going through film school, I had to go through that a lot, and I learned the hard way the coverage thing. It's like 3 lines of coverage at least at all times. But someone gave me the advice to start on your wide shot so that your actors have time to rehearse the role.
Plus it gives your
and then when you
crew.
get the close-ups, which you're likely going to
Yeah.
use, they are comfortable enough to where they're giving you go.
Plus it gives your camera op, it gives your crew time to see the blocking so that they'll understand when you go into that coverage what's going on, because otherwise they can't put it together in their head.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A lot of times being independent, we don't have enough time to rehearse. So.
Absolutely. Let's see. Okay, those were my next few notes. I do recommend these 2 books. One is called In the Blink of an Eye, and that's for editing. The other one is called True and False by David Mamet. And I really like that because I feel like a lot of filmmakers don't know how to communicate to their actors. And that book is actually for actors. So many things he said. He goes, you cannot act the moment before. You cannot act the room you came out of. People are like, you just came out of the kitchen. No, you can't act that. So what you do is you look for the right person, right? 90% of acting is the right casting. Okay? And if I can't find the right person, I change. I change who that character is. I change who I am as a filmmaker, and I make that character fit that person. Because people always say, wow, your casting's so great. I'm like, it's like, and then I have male producer, and male producer is asking me when we're going into auditions, well, what does she look like? I'm like, I don't know, I haven't seen her yet. Well, is she blonde? Does she have big eyes and full lips? I'm like, I haven't seen her yet. How do I know what she looks like? I know who she is, but I don't go in looking for a look. I go in looking for a person. And if I can get to that person as close as possible, then I trust in that. But if I don't, I adjust who that character is in little ways to make it fit that person. Because you're doing it, if you try to make that person be someone else, you're gonna ruin them. So that true and false, it has so many things in there. I haven't read it in like over 10 years, so I wish I could think of it, but I just remember it really triggered explaining acting. And so some of the things like I like to do is make sure I just say, could you pick, I see directors all the time, not knowing how to explain to their actors the blocking. Can you, so many vague things, I'm like, you know what, just, can you pivot your head to the right? Little less, right there, great. Can you look right? And you know, like, it's just like, sometimes it's really clear, distinct, simple things. Actors really appreciate that. Because they're trusting in you to be their eyes. I try not to use negative conversation, negative words when I'm speaking to actors, because once an actor is insecure, it's a downhill struggle from there. Uphill struggle, it's a downhill fall and an uphill struggle. So those are my tips on editing, on acting, my writing. That's my tips on no budget filmmaking. I just gave you a $60,000 university. If there's any more bottles of water, I'll take one. If anyone, I don't know what the deal is. I don't know if we're wrapping up or if people have questions.
It's 6:25 right now.
Oh,
But I
good.
was gonna
Wow.
mention.
See, I look at my timing, man.
So if you wanna hang out, go chit chat. The film fest, the movie, we're gonna open house in a little while, like 7 and stuff. We're gonna have some got some merch gonna set up. If anybody, tweet or whatever, you haven't gotten your goodies. We'll take
And
care
if you
of
want to
right
support
there.
Stephanie and I as filmmakers, go to Bloody Maria Series on Instagram. I don't do this, so I have to do it, right? Subscribe, like, all that shit. Go to our YouTube link from there because you're probably going to go to the wrong one. We recently had to take our web series down because we're putting back up as a full pilot. So that'll be up soon. And then Now You Know It will probably be up there once we figure out after the festival stuff. And if you were there last night, you can tell the other people that weren't there how awesome it was.
Thank you so much.
And yeah.
I was
Remember
also-
something else, we'll say it again.
I was also going to mention
Thank you.
an organization I found out about in town recently is Sound Girls. And so that's a coalition
awesome.
of female sound engineers, sound recording people.
That's why I
They're-
had to change it to Sound Person.
Right, yeah. But it is. It's queer, inclusive, non-binary, all this sort of stuff. But it's also people trying to come together and build a coalition so that they can get out there and let people know, look, you're not alone, especially if you're a female filmmaker or non-binary queer, and you want a safe space or crew people you feel you can trust to be on and do things. And these are people who are trained for this, who have studied for this, who get internships, who also struggle within a very patriarchal and racist system, you know? So, yeah, so they're one group I recently found because I was volunteering for Girls Rock Camp, which is a group in town that helps young girls learn to be in bands. And it's run by Anna Garza. She's an awesome person. Try and find her online. She's on Facebook. They're a super great organization too. Another thing is, I was gonna mention, it has something to do with sound. Oh yeah, I work for Houston Media Source. We're doing this program called the Filmmakers Project. So, thank you. So it's run by some alumni. That's Alex's wife, Sybil. That's Alex Sines. He runs the program. He's our equipment manager. And so what we're trying to do is get people to submit scripts. We're public access, so we don't keep the copyright to anything you do. We're trying to get people to submit scripts so that we can help you produce a short within a year and screen it at a venue in town. So we have equipment, we have high-end equipment, we have Sony Venice cameras, we have mid-level equipment, we have audio equipment. We do workshops through the local Swamp Film organization. They allow us to do workshops at the facility, and we pay for you to go to these workshops to learn sound engineering, to learn filmmaking, to learn camera work.
This is LA.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. It's like public access sometimes is one of the places you can go to in any city that might know how you can do some things on the cheap or
free, because these are the areas people have to go to when funding is squeezed through other organizations and stuff. So that's one avenue. What I learned in one of our sound workshops was working with those tiny mics that they were mentioning earlier. You have to get these rubber implements that actually you put the mic inside and it covers it all the way around, and then you put a sticky tape on one side. It attaches to your chest, and then so even if your clothes move or something, it doesn't create that closed sound.
Yeah.
So these are all audio supports that audio people know, serious professional audio people know, but not many of us get taught. So it's things like, like the little fuzz they put on stuff if there's wind out in the outside, or the little rubber thing you put the mic in. Some of the cheap ways I've done to get around that is you get gaff tape, and I create 2 pyramid gaff tapes that are like sticky on both sides. I wedge the mic between them, and so the shirt sticks to one side and the other side sticks to your chest. I've done a lot of films in 70 where I'm like jury rigging a quick way to like, okay, this person's wearing this, I have to hide the mic somewhere on them, and I have to do it cheap and quick. And so gaff tape's your friend. So
I also want to say I did bring some Bloody Maria little mini puzzles.